Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. They're here with us each and every morning. This morning, of course, it's Wednesday morning. We've got Dr. Maya Bowen and Luis Delgado, Mr. Delgado, in Studio 1A. How you doing there, sir?
Good morning, Stan. Good morning to our viewers and our listeners. And good morning, Dr. Maya, and welcome back. We missed you. We missed you. We love, we love what you bring to the table, sister. You have wonderful information and knowledge to impart with our viewers or listeners. And, it's good to have you back. And to all our viewers and listeners, have an incredible week. Let's do it. Let's make it happen, family. Yes.
Let's go. Green light it. We're green lighting it today. Yes.
We're green lighting happiness and, having a great day and being successful. Let's green light all the good things, Dr. Maya. I agree with you.
Actually,
yes.
Being positive is starts here, right? So you can determine exactly how it is that you're going to allow for yourself to bloom with all that the world has to offer, what the universe has to offer. We have an opportunity, given that we have been given minds to think, to direct how it is that we think and get rid of that stinking thinking.
That is true.
The stinking thinking. I like that, Dr. Maya. Very nice.
All right, let me introduce you all before we get into conversation. Lou, goodness.
I just miss her, man.
I know. He was talking to her for 20 minutes before we come on the air. He acted like he hadn't seen her before. All right, we have Dr. Bowen with us this morning, too. Dr. Bowen, how have you been?
Listen, I have been excellent. The summer presented itself with many opportunities, and I decided to answer each and every one of them. The pandemic has put a halt on a lot of different things, but it also gave me an opportunity to think about what it is that I wanted to do and to realize that we have this precious gift of time that, like the sands through an hourglass, it doesn't stop, right? And so in determining what it is that I wanted to do this summer, I green lighted it, and I'm just happy to be back with you gentlemen on this morning because I got actually I have one question. Could be follow up some additional questions, but this one right here had me thinking because I perused YouTube and I fell asleep on one of the clips and then woke up to something completely different, and I was like, oh wow, let's see what it is that we can come about in terms of solutions on today. Not to mention today's the first day of classes for me, so
you're back at school.
Yes. Fall 2023
man.
semesters in full effect. Let's go. I love the first days, though. I love the first days, first week, to get everything grounded and foundationally stable to the best of my ability. And the next 14 weeks, if you count this week, will go smoothly from my perspective. And, I try to encourage my students to think in terms of the time that we have before us and try to best time manage so that they can accomplish what they need in these next 15 weeks.
All right, so we only have you this morning for 1 hour.
Yes,
unfortunately.
You do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Dr. Delgado in the house. How was your weekend, sir?
Stan, my weekend was wonderful. I got a chance to spend a little time with my family and make some phone calls and, talk to people about different things. So it was very good. It was very productive. Things are always, I'm with Dr. Maya 100%. I said this before on the show and I'll say it again. the pandemic was terrible and continues to be terrible for a lot of people. But for other people, it gave us a chance to reflect and to kind of free ourselves. And I choose to, I made a lot of choices, and I choose to be happy. I choose to be successful. And Dr. Maya is absolutely correct. We have a choice. And when you make that choice, then you start living those choices. You don't talk about it anymore. You start living them. So, yes, we have, and this is why I miss Dr. Maya. Look, she came in with this wonderful energy, about it's your choice to be happy, and it's a choice on how you live your life. And it's just a wonderful message. And I, completely agree with that. So it was great. It was wonderful. And, the week, Monday and yesterday were outstanding. And look, today starts out with a wonderful blessing for all of us from Dr. Maya. So, it just gets better and better, Stan.
Absolutely. Happiness is definitely a choice. Now, what was your question?
Yes. Okay. So, education is something that occurs daily. It doesn't occur inside the four walls, namely in a schoolhouse, right? So I started thinking about how it is that leadership plays a huge dynamic, and how it is that we roll out education to our youth. And so here's my question: how many colorful PowerPoint presentations does it take to improve the reading and math skills of Black and Brown students? I got some insight, but I'm gonna let you ponder on that for a little bit.
How many?
How many colorful
PowerPoints
presentations does it take to improve the reading and math skills of Black and Brown students?
Should take 0 PowerPoints.
I'm afraid that I'm gonna have to co-sign that one, Dr. Maya. I'm gonna have to agree with Stan.
Yes, so here's how I laid it out, right? So the following is just some insight that I gained based on attending some of the Harvard Public Board of Education meetings in person and online. So my insights include the following. So the excuses being made by all in leadership who subscribe to this design speaks to the following outcomes. And I got 3. The first is to keep the status quo as is. Okay, right? The second is to undermine the educational journey of the students they are supposed to be serving as public servants.
Say that again.
The second one is to undermine the educational journey of the students they are supposed to be serving as public servants. And the third, this one is a doozy, it's kind of long. To blatantly disrespect the community by not including it as a part of the sustainable and consistent solutions that their highly educated selves should be championing in practice, and not solely or merely proclaiming it through their written and spoken words, backed by colorful pie charts and tables that lack context. And henceforth, when asked questions of said PowerPoint slides, they themselves do not provide answers or cannot provide answers, whereby individuals asking said questions are not given the appropriate answers per the context of how those slides present themselves, whereby additionally, this very same leadership, without having these answers, are unable to support the fictional fairy tales of a great educational system that they so gleefully proclaim.
We've been saying that on this show all along, Dr. Maya. But thank you for confirming it. Thank you for confirming it. Verbatim. Verbatim. We've been saying that.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
We cannot continue. Malcolm said it best. Only a fool will allow his enemy to teach his children. And I said this before. Here's another question that I have. During slavery, white women killed more blacks than anybody. They killed children, disciplining them, and a lot of times out of anger because they knew that was their husband's child, right? Today, sister, today, here's a joke. The joke's on us.
No, it's not a joke, but I'm laughing because it's so woefully truthful.
Well, hold on, sister, hold on. Here's something that's this is the woeful here. This is the woeful here today. 90% of teachers in America are white. And nobody's ever questioned that. They went from killing us to teaching us. Nobody ever questioned that. Because that's what we do. We've been saying it. I said this to Leslie. I said this to Narvez. I said this to the superintendent before that. I said this to mayors, to the community. Okay? We cannot continue to allow the education system as it is to be perpetrated on our children. That's what it is. Because they're not learning nothing. It's completely unfriendly. And when you ask, because one of the teachers told me about 6 or 7 years ago, check this out, that my son could benefit from tutoring. Mm-hmm. So we had a PPT to send a young white girl from downtown. She told me he wasn't getting tutoring. And I said, but wait a minute. I thought everybody's job around this table was to ensure that my son and every other student has all the things that they need to be successful. You're not here to prevent him from getting tutoring. You're here to try to figure out how we can make it happen. What's going on? And that's the kind of stuff you're talking about right there, sister.
Absolutely.
We are unwelcome. We are considered the enemy. But it's not just the educational system. Because we've always spoken this on this. It's all those bureaucracies. I went downtown last week to get a document. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the city hall treated me like I wasn't supposed to be there, like I was a bother. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the education system.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You go to the police department to file a complaint against a police officer, and the first thing they tell you is, if you're lying, we're going to arrest you.
Hostile environments.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All of these systems are tied together.
Thank you.
All of them.
Yes.
So here's the interesting thing about this, right? So the dynamic is that we live in a democracy. However, really and truly, this whole nation is based off of capitalism, as you've said thousands of times, Lou, already. Capitalism. So here's the thing: capitalism is the dominant religion / mindset
government
of this nation, and they wiggle in democracy when it becomes a best fit. Capitalism overrides democracy in this nation. And so where it is that we find ourselves speaking specifically about education, we actually see where it is that the educational dynamic is the dynamic that requires capitalism to play upon the strategies that they outlay from the top tier of the hierarchy all the way down to the bottom. So if you think about it this way, if you can't read in this society, what type of job do you competitively compete for? None, right? And if you're illiterate, the status or position that you find yourself, especially since you play chess, here's a good one. You find yourself as being not the king, queen, rook, or castle.
And pawn.
But the pawn. Thank you.
Yes.
Yay. They've designed a system in a way whereby each system relies on every other system to be structured in a way that is going to benefit them. So if we find ourselves as a number group that is qualified as being a minority, because minority basically means that you are small in number based on a larger group.
But in this country, it means non-white.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Now check this out though. If you historically look at how things actually laid out, at one point, the descendants of African slaves outnumbered white people on this continent. And that's facts. Yes. And so when it is that Ellis Island became the way that all of the immigrants from Europe came over, that's when the numbers started to bulk up. So at one point we were the majority, but because they needed more allies in terms of numbers, they called their cousins over in order to build their population to outnumber us. So where it is that we find ourselves right now as the numerical minority, when we look at the capitalism dynamic, think about this. The number of people that are non-white in our prison systems outnumbers the majority who are classified as white. That doesn't mean that we do more crimes, because how can we do more crimes when there's more of them than it is of us? We're the ones that get penalized. So it's basically set up as they win, we lose. And so where we look at education, if it is that we really want to counter or provide for a counter move, we have to take ownership of the education within our own homes and families in order for us to actually become part of the competitive structure or dynamic that is ongoing in the society since its onset. That's how it is. So until it is that we wake up and start to really see what type of game, quote unquote, is being played, then we're going to keep being played as pawns, period.
That's a wonderful point, and I like to piggyback on that, Dr. Maya. So in Puerto Rico, we have a saying, el que hizo la ley, hizo la trampa. The one that made the law also made the trap.
Yes.
So here's a good example of that in today's newspaper, and we talked about this, and I want to, it'll all come back. But I used to say that Hillary Clinton would have been a much worse president than Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Because she knows the law, and her people are all lawyers and law writers, right? Donald Trump's people are all business people. They don't know nothing about the law. They think they can bully their way. That's why he got pushed around so easily, and he's going to go to jail, right? Because he was dumb. And here's an example of that right now, of what I meant. In today's paper, front page, Department of Justice changes rules or something.
As far as
whatever it is,
it
right. What compelled them to do that?
Right? The Mar-a-Lago raid.
Right. Because they're protecting themselves against the rules that they wrote. You and I didn't write them. Most of us don't know them, and they can change them to fit their benefit. So when and this is what I've been saying, we cannot continue to look for answers from the people who gave us the problem. They know the problem. They know some of the solutions that you're going to come up with because they created the problem, right? And so when you get close enough to solving it, they just change the rules. Look at what happened today. Right. Front page, Department of Justice changes. It was either policy or rules or something.
The policy change is around whether or not you can be associated or affiliated with a campaign. So the Department of Justice employees cannot actively participate in political elections and things like that. Like judges can't do that now.
But what happens then? Why wasn't it Why wasn't that the case before? My point is this. The question is moot. The question that I just asked you is just rhetorical, right?
Right. I mean, you were using that as an example to
right.
being able to change the rules.
Right.
That still stands.
My point.
That's the point, right?
That's the point. They can change, and that's what Hillary would have brought to the table.
Well, that's what lawmakers do.
She can make a law. She can change the law before you finish reading the existing law to benefit whatever they want. And that's the issue when you play that game. That's why I've always said we have to have our own table. We don't need to go to nobody's table.
So check this out. This is why the pen is mightier than the sword. So just off of that example, right? And notably so, where it is that we currently still have our voting rights, those same voting rights, if it is the will of the system, could be stripped, basically based on using that pen.
Because they can change the rules.
Yes, indeed. So here's the thing. Where it is that we must actually begin to actually realize what type of games that are playing. And there's many educated individuals. It doesn't include or exclude anybody that has a college degree, because a college degree, well, I'm just going to leave that there. Anyways, you don't have to be educated to have a college degree, and you don't have to not be educated because of lack thereof. My point being is that when it comes to the laws and specifically voting in a democratic republic nation that we find ourselves in, because it's more republic than democrat, we need to understand that even though we get one vote apiece, it's in our numbers that makes things count and shifts that pendulum. If it is that y'all out there are not exercising your right to vote, and you have the legal right to vote, and somebody gets into office and writes something that is going to be detrimental to your life of you or your family members or friends, that right there is why it is that it's so important for individuals to exercise their right to vote. Now, Lou, I understand that you sway away from that, but think about this. If I only get one vote, you only get one vote, and Stan only gets one vote, it's the three of us. Based on what it is that's presented by a candidate, and we are the only three that are going to be voting, based on the outcome of the count of the three, the majority will win in terms of choosing the candidate. So, namely, where it is that we find ourselves now, individuals have become disinterested in voting, and that's for a reason. That's for a reason, their own individual reason. However, you cannot neglect the fact that your vote matters. It's not the candidate per se, but it is what it is that they are going to be able to provide in terms of the solutions that we see. Now, we're just going based off what they look like, then you are just going off of aesthetics. Don't do that, because a brown or black person can do you just as dirty as someone who is classified as white. Okay, so with all that being said, people, please get out and vote, because it's important. Our numbers count, but if it can't count if it is that you don't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dr. Maya, I completely respect your point of view, but I think that, my contribution to this particular point of the conversation is that it's the same thing that I said before. We always going to return to what we know because it's comfortable, even if it's trauma. I've spoken about this. Many of our customs and traditions are born out of trauma because they're comfortable. I use the example of soul food. Soul food sounds a lot more appetizing than pig food, right? But that's what it used to be, right? So here's the thing. You keep talking about voting. I keep saying we can't go back and look for the answers to our problems from the same people who created them. And when we vote and when we talk about stuff like that, that's what we do. I'm just entertaining the idea. I want people to entertain the idea that there's other options out there that we can take. Right? There's other options, there's other actions that we can take besides voting, because when we vote, when we get involved in the political process, We're looking for the answers to our problems from the same people who created them. Look at what they're doing now in Georgia. Look at what they did.
Well, I would
They're trying to take away people's votes because they're changing the rules to the game. We're not part of that game. And the quicker we understand that, the better we're going to be off.
Yeah, but see,
Check this out. Right, check this out, though. With the educational system, if it is that we're not teaching civics and civic engagement, guess what? We are doing ourselves a disservice. Now, whether that comes from the school, which obviously is not, it needs to come from the base foundation of the first teachers of that child, which is in the home, which means that in order for us to produce the type of candidates that we seek, we have to start where our foundation is. Now, we can't rely upon the educational system because it's designed the way it's designed to work the way it's supposed to work. And we see that it has been working in their benefit, but not in ours. So if it is that we're going to really change what it is that the current status quo is or presents itself as, then we have to make sure that we are training up individuals to pass them the baton to take on leadership roles to become that change that we see. We can't, like you said, we can't rely upon the same people that created the issues to fix the problems. We can't do that, which means that we have to develop individuals, train individuals to become
educate
the change agents in the society in order for us to make sure that certain things get changed. And the attempt for us to actually go the same way is going to continue to be detrimental. Now, I say something related to you talking about the soul food. Yes, it sounds comforting. However, that same soul food sustained my ancestors so I could be here on this show today. So everything in moderation, right? But switching that up just a little bit, we have before us the year of 2022. We're going right into 2023. The question becomes, for the individuals that are taking in this information, how do we re-strategize and come together? Now, one thing that I found out, because it is that I am literate, you can't spell community without unity. Where there is a lack of unity, there is going to be dissension amongst the individuals that should holistically be working together. Not to say that they agree on everything, but they got to find out specifically what it is that they want to accomplish in terms of solutions. Now, we know what the problems are. We've been talking about the problems all the while, and they have not gone anywhere. So over the past 30 years, if it is that you take me back to my young teenage Maya, I've seen the same things going on over the past 30 years, which means that if it is that we have individuals in leadership that have degrees, more degrees than a thermometer, that have not presented us with solutions, that means they want the status quo to stay just the way it is because it's beneficial for them, whereas on the opposite end of the stick is detrimental to us. But another question that I want to raise is, how long do we have to experience trauma by not deciding to change how we think, which lends to how we behave, in order to not fall into the mousetrap that has been set for us in this here society? That's the question.
So here, I will submit something to that. And I think that the first thing that we can do with education is stop letting business dictate the curriculum. Because when you take a good look at how it's done, you educate people and you train animals. So we're training our children, or not us, but our children are being trained to do a specific job. That's not education. That's training.
That's not education.
That's training.
That's right. But I mean,
so here's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, education is something that somebody yearns for and is given the supports to pursue something. Education as it is in the United States is not education. We're training workers for factories, for companies.
I don't think
that's what we do.
Right, but I don't think it's fair to say that business dictates it. There's nothing that prohibits people from educating their kids. Nothing. The primary responsibility for education is the parent. The school is just a tool in the box of things that a parent can use to educate their kids. If you send your children to the school, even though school education is mandated, but you don't have to send your kids to school. So you're responsible. I'm responsible for teaching my children. That's my responsibility. Now, I send them to school, then we evaluate what they learned in the course of the day. If at any minute I feel that children aren't being treated right, and I'm not arguing with no one at school. Some folk do. I'm not arguing. I'm going there and get them out. I'm here to get my kids. Where are they? Have security bring them here or call the police while I go get them. Yeah. So if you want kids to come out of school and be employed, they have to be ready for the jobs that are in your community. If you got warehouses in your community,
that's not education. Just like I said,
that's different, Louis. Education. Okay. Women's studies is an education because people want to learn about women's studies. You just kind of made my point. No, I'm not making your point.
But you did. Now you're going to try to change it.
No. Women's studies could be, but where are you going to get a job doing that?
Why does education have to do with a job? That's my point. That they should not be synonymous with each other. It's two different things. Education has nothing to do with work, and that's what it is here. That's my point, Stan.
Your point.
Hold on. Let me say one more thing. You are not being honest in your account of how you can educate your children because there's more to that. That's like saying that George Washington was the first president of this country, but not mentioning that he was also a slave owner, right? So here's my point on that. When you say you can educate your child at home, you can, but there are many obstacles and there are many rules you have to follow. Otherwise, you have to deal with the law.
So you follow them.
I'm just saying it's not that easy, Stan. I've
had
hundreds.
Easy, Lou. It is that. Look.
How many years did you educate your kids at home?
1.5.
Okay, then why did you send them to school if it was so easy?
Lou, you cannot
I'm just talking about the regular.
Let us deal with one question at a time.
Yes.
You cannot live in the land of should be. Should be this, should be that, should be this, should be that, should be this. The whole time can't be about what should be, because what should be isn't. What is what we have. Kids do have to go to school, and they are trained at school. You know that, the school knows that, and everyone else knows that. What are they being trained for? The jobs that are available in the communities where the kids live. Now, if you want your kids to be educated beyond what the school does, you have to do that, because the school is not going to change. It should be better, but it ain't going to be, Lou.
You co-sign my point again.
I said I agreed with you from the beginning. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Okay. You're on a delivery mode, not in a listening mode.
Yes.
Okay, so I agree with you, but I said it's not fair to business to say that business is dictating the curriculum. Business doesn't dictate the curriculum. If you ain't got employees where the business is in your town, they'll leave and go somewhere else. They don't care about your children. They care about employees. That's all they care about. Is getting people who can do the work. Now, if you want to be in a town where your kids can get employed, where the unemployed can get jobs, we need jobs, we need this, that, and the third. Well, how are you going to hire somebody if they don't know what to do? Electric Boat, General Dynamics, is looking for 4,000 employees, carpenters, machinists, all kinds of stuff. Now, learning the machine is you need to have some level of training. Now, you need to be educated to a degree, but what is education? It's the only place you can be educated at school.
No.
If people are sending their kids to school to hopefully that's the only way you'll be educated, we're in deep trouble.
Deep trouble.
Deep
Check this out. Let
trouble.
me spin the wheel a little bit. Let me spin the wheel dynamic a little bit, right? So here's where I want to intersect poverty. If it is that a student gets into the criminal justice system and becomes a classified as a criminal, even into their adulthood, that is lifelong poverty. So check this out. If it is that you have a criminal record, you are now no longer permitted to be extended specific types of resources to acquire specific things in terms of basics, right? Living, if you need a loan to go to school because you want a higher education, things like that. So the question becomes, how do we make sure that our kids, our youth, are not becoming a part of the system that is designed to keep them perpetually in poverty once they're in? Because it's hard to get out.
So now, lifelong sentence, Dr. Maya.
Say that again?
Lifelong sentence.
Yes, lifelong sentences. So the question becomes, right, Lou, there's education and there's training. However, where it is that a lot of things intersect, and we see a lot of intersectionality, when our youth are making decisions, because we can't be with them 24/7, this becomes a critical point as to how it is that they govern themselves on the day-to-day basis and the circumstances that they find themselves in. Now, if you have someone who is hot-headed and strictly basing their decisions off emotions, these short-term behaviors turn into long-term consequences, right? And so we have to not only just educate or train, but we have to allow for our youth to understand that they have to have self-control over their emotions in order for them to make better decisions. We all make bad decisions. However, we have to make sure that we're able to have an understanding of our emotions and how they impact us in terms of consequences. Because a short-term behavior or decision can turn into a long-term consequence that is detrimental not only to them, but also to whoever it is that they link up with and their children. So it's widespread. It doesn't just stop with the individual, because at the end of the day, when we have Black and brown youth out there in society, engaging in a lot of different decisions as well as behaviors, the question again and again will always become, how are they managing themselves in order for them not to be caught up in this system that is not going to allow for them to break away from certain types of outcomes which are detrimental to their life and livelihood? That is a key question. Now, where it is that if we had the mantra, do no harm, like doctors do, right? Do no harm, right? Where it is that students in our system right now are understanding that they have a respect for themselves and they have a respect for others and they understand boundaries, then we wouldn't have the types of things that are going on in specific environments. However,
Dr. Maya,
hold on for a second. Let's take a look at the environment they go into. If you have individuals that are creating a hostile environment from the parent perspective, think about who your child is coming in contact for 6 to 8 hours or more that can impact how it is that they respond to. So if I got a teacher picking on me, I might be like, Dad, I don't even want to go to school. And you'd be like, why you don't want to go to school? You need to go to school, da, da, da. But if I as a child don't have the communication skills to say, I'm being bullied by my teacher, right? You're going to continue to send me in. Now, here's the thing. Once I'm out of your sight, I could be then out on the streets doing anything. So then I become that truant, and you don't know really anything about it until they contact you, blah, blah, blah. But the underlying, or rather the root or the cause of me not going to school has to be understood in order for us to actually begin to bridge solutions together. Because honestly, students just don't want to go to school just for the sake of not going to school. There's a reason why they don't want to go to school.
Well, there's a myriad of reasons why they don't want to go to school. Slow down. I need to slow you guys down. You have people who are trying to make comments online.
That's beautiful.
So let's talk to the audience as well, to each other. Okay. And there's people who want to talk, and you all are. You can have this conversation on the phone.
I miss Dr. Maya.
I know. So we go to a commercial break. I could tell you, but I could turn into a teachable moment for everybody. Social emotional learning. You got prison to pipeline. What to do is education training. There's a lot of stuff folk are trying to ask you all questions about the comments you're making. So
bring them.
Slow down a heart, because she's got to leave in like 5 minutes. Okay, so social emotional learning, Dr. Maya, question mark, and also prison to pipeline.
Yeah.
School to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
Prison
definitely.
pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, the social emotional training, that really should start at home. But it should, from a community perspective, if these schools were really based on the design of community, be mirrored in the school. For example, AJ Johnson had something on Facebook posting his son going into school, and they were saying the student's creed or mantra. And so I replied to the post because I think his wife posted it and asked whether or not that student creed was something that the Harvard Public School System, because I liked it, was something that the Harvard Public School System had going on for all students.
No.
Right? And so here's the dynamic. Where there is disjointed communication on building a strong community with positive words, because we started this off with positivity, then how is it that we're capturing the community in terms of looking at it as growing positively in strength if only his school per se is giving out that student creed that is very positive, setting boundaries? I go to school for education. I respect myself and I respect others, so on and so forth. If that's not being spread in Harvard school systems consistently in every single school, then we're missing the point of making sure that we're producing strong, responsible, educated youth that will become the leaders of tomorrow. Now, I'd say that in terms of leaders of tomorrow, but if the system is designed not to build leaders of tomorrow, then they become the workers and followers of tomorrow instead.
So here's a point to, first of all, let me say that the school to prison pipeline, is just the way that things are taught to our children in school. It kind of leads them into crime. And there's studies behind this, and that's the definition of school to prison pipeline. But Dr. Maya, here's my response to just about all the conversation that we've had this morning, right? Given your 3 points that you made, right? Mm-hmm. About how schools are unwelcoming and the hostile environment, this and that, right? Mm-hmm. How can a little mantra like that even, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's wonderful. But how can we think that a little mantra like that is going to change not our students, but the attitude?
I'll tell you how.
And the policies that are in place already. Them 3 things that you mentioned.
Right. That mantra.
That's like throwing a cup of water on a forest fire, sister.
Yeah, but the mantra. In fairness to AJ, the mantra is AJ's students' mantra.
Okay.
So, but
cool.
it isn't.
Cool.
It isn't. I think he would like for it to be at every school, but that's his students' mantra.
But check this out, though, right? As a board member for Harvard Public Schools, right? It would be a great change. In addition, if we rolled it out so that all of the schools had their students remembering that mantra and walking day to day in that mantra. But here's the deal. Leadership, and as a board member, he is leadership, as well as the superintendent. It starts from the top, and it gotta be consistently embraced and flow downward. Now, if you've got individuals in the system that don't even believe in that type of mantra, that's where the problem is. Words matter because it impacts how it is that you govern yourself accordingly. If I keep telling you that you need to go to special ed or you need counseling and stuff like that, guess what ends up happening? I start to internalize that and I become my own self-fulfilling efficacy. Now, here's the dynamic. If those words didn't mean anything, then why is it that they are actually something that he himself actually values and sees as positive for his child? Yet, in terms of leadership, if presented as an opportunity to have that a part of the entire Harvard Public School system community, where it's unified and consistent throughout, what would stop leadership from saying no to having that as a mantra for the entire school system to actually govern themselves accordingly by?
You don't have enough time left for us to answer that question.
15 more minutes.
Huh?
Because, give me 15 more minutes.
You can stay as long as you can.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, he's one of 9 board members. Is there 9? Yeah, I think it's 9. I should know that. There's one of 9 board members, and so whether or not that becomes something that's baked in, is that I think that's another subject for another day. But as Lou is saying, every school has its mantra. All of the schools have mantras.
Yeah, they have their mission
They
statement.
have their mission statements, this, that, and the third. But the mission statement is almost coming back down to what you started the program off with the PowerPoint. It's a show. It's show and tell. And the problem with the show and tell is that's all it is.
The company line.
Company line. Show and tell, no questions. The bottom line is you're supposed to do what you're told, how you're told, when you're told. We tell you when to jump, you jump. We tell you when to sit, you sit. And so it gets back to the kind of like underlying message that kind of like the both of you were saying. Is that schools are not a place where you're educated. That's first and foremost. They're not designed to be educational places. They're designed to be training centers. And that's what happens there. So if people want their kids to be educated, it would be best in the short term to give them the tools to be educated outside of the school system, and you leverage whatever the school is doing to help in that arena. The problem comes in that some parents aren't equipped to educate their kids.
Yep.
And then that is most unfortunate because full circle coming back around to what Lou was saying earlier. That's if you're looking to them to provide something that's going to be better for your kids, to me that's borderline delusional because they're not there for that. There's a reason why your cafeteria looks like the cafeteria at prison. There's a reason why the school infrastructure internally, the architectural design and the color scheme.
It's a prison.
Green sector, 5 sector. You follow these colors to this place. They look they're one and the same. The outside of the buildings look like prisons. So, the buses look like prison buses. These systems are all in place. And they're built around all these things like poverty. So if you have so many people in poverty, if you got so many kids born out of wedlock, if you have all these things, they can pretty much determine the trajectory. So they build prisons based on all of that stuff. And the bean counters and the wisdoms of smart seem to be hitting it on the target. When they're off target and they don't have the number of prisoners they thought they were going to have, they just arrest them off the street.
Right.
They slap you with a little ticket because you're waiting outside the barber shop because it's full and it's hot. The police come by, pick you up for loitering. All right, you do that 2 or 3 times. Now you see them as either be picked up and get hit with a ticket or run. And then you get charged with evasion. Next thing you know, you're in the system. And now there's a bed that's full. So there are a lot of things that we have to do because...
And it all comes down to one thing, Stan, that we have to mention. Otherwise, we will all be remiss. Okay? And that is money. It all comes down to money.
Capitalism.
So
resource.
Check this out. They claim that it takes about $20,000 to educate a student yearly. So when you decide, Stan, to educate your son or daughter at home, does the Board of Education, does the city, the state, or the federal government take those $20,000 and give them to you so you can have the resources to educate your child?
Absolutely not. But
right, and
but,
see,
but
here's the
that's
thing.
That's a fictitious. That's a false flag cost.
Well, I'm just giving a number. I'm just using a number. Right. Whether it's 20 or 40 or 10 or 2,000. Right. Do they give you that money?
Absolutely not.
Right. But so there's a lot of other stuff that's involved that we have to be really. If we can't say that educating your child at home is easy, especially if you don't have resources.
It's not easy. Educating your child in school ain't easy.
Yeah.
If it was easy.
Well, your child's not being educated in school, and we have to stop saying that. Your child's being trained in school.
Right. So your child is not being educated at school. So if you want your kid educated, where do you think he should go, Lou? If he can't go to school and get educated, the options become the community center, the community, the tribal meeting. I mean, we go on and on with all of the shoulda, woulda, couldas. But the primary place for children to be taught in a system that is already in place since the dawn of time is the family.
Oh, okay.
The family.
Yes.
The family is responsible for teaching the kids. The extended family is responsible for teaching the kids. The community is responsible for teaching the kids. But there is no community if there is no extended family, and if there is no family. If the family breaks down, how do you expect the community to be a place that's going to be sustaining and nurturing?
So I will submit this to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We always go back to what we know. The education system in the United States is not the same education system everywhere all over the world.
That's
or training.
Given. That's a given.
I would say that we need to change our education systems completely, right? But from grade preschool to kindergarten to 8th grade, our children really need to be educated. They need to have those civic classes that Dr. Maya talked about. They need to be well-versed in law, not to be lawyers, but when they get pulled over, so they have an idea of how law works.
So,
and things like that.
How do we implement that so that we can move out of the realm of should?
I just want to say one thing about their mantra. Any mantra, okay? Obeying is not education. Obeying, again, is training. I just wanted to make that
well, you have to hear the whole mantra. His mantra is really not a bad mantra.
I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying any mantra that is telling our children to obey, I will keep my son away from.
Obey your parents.
Obey anything.
Oh, you obey your parents.
You obey nothing. You listen. You listen first. You process to make sure that what is being said to you is safe first and appropriate. And then you can follow that direction.
Once you get
there
old
is
enough
no obeying nothing.
Once you
follow
get
directions.
old enough to process and do all those things, Lou, that is good. But parents should be obeyed because children, as much as we love them, and they're going to be the future, are incapable of making sound decisions because they don't have the depth of experience, nor do they have the external understanding of how things work. Otherwise, you could send your kids out and a stranger could offer them candy and they would say, well, I see you, but I'm not going to take that candy because of X, Y, and Z. I'm only 3 years old, but I can understand that the candy and all of the gifts you're offering. We teach our kids and we expect them to obey. Now, listen to me. When we're out and if somebody offers you something, say no. You need to obey me.
What was the first word that you used? What was the first word that you used in that sentence?
Tell me, because I don't remember.
Listen to me.
Tell me.
Listen to me.
Yes, listen to me.
Right? Yep.
Different than obeying.
Lou, you can't obey until you have heard the command. And in order to obey, you have to understand the command. We're not talking about obeying the oppressor. You can't remove words because you don't like the connotations when they are negative. Obey means something. Words do mean things. If you're in the military, if you're being given a direct order by a firefighter who's trying to get you out of a burning building, well, let me process this. Is he trying to kill me? You sitting around paralyzed from analysis paralysis. Meanwhile, the opportunity for your salvation is gone. There's a reason why people need to obey. And then there's sometimes you say, no, you don't obey. So we're not going to eliminate obeying as a concept because the person who's making the command is not worthy of obedience. People need to understand not everything you're told do you need to listen to. Not every command that you're given is a command that you should obey. And then you say, no, you don't get rid of obey because you don't want to obey. You just don't obey.
I didn't say get rid of it. I said that.
You said obey nothing.
I think it's being used in the wrong context.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, but we're good.
Now here it is, Lou. So check this out. In terms of socialization, families are the first group of other individuals that our youth who are born get to understand the world that they are being presented with as newborn babes, right? So the socialization begins with the family at home. Now, the love and care that happens at home, and I put that in quotation marks because not everybody goes into a family that has that dynamic, then has to be contrasted with the greater society. So when you send your kids out to these schools, you don't know who these teachers are. Just because they passed a background check does not mean that they're not a criminal. As you note, that individual that was a child molester, pedophile, or whatever type of criminal he was allowed to be in that system and do that heinous crime to who knows how many youth. Prior to him actually being there, he passed a background check. So when it is that we talk about hostile environments, we also have to consider the fact that just because somebody passes a background check does not eliminate them from actually being a criminal. I'm just saying. Right.
Well, absolutely right.
I mean, we have many examples of that. Many examples. And
exactly.
the thing that the thing that I try to stay away from, is doing things, business as usual. I'm always trying to experiment and use try to create other things from my mind that nobody else, especially with European influence, because we have not had that opportunity. I've often said on this show that white people can't claim to be the best at anything in this country because black and brown people, we've never had a real opportunity to showcase all of our talents and creativity as free folk. You know what I'm saying? So, we have a long ways to go.
I would counter that. We have a lot of what it is that we have excelled at because it is we lack the financial well-being or positioning to actually monopolize off of it in this capitalistic society has been stolen and patented by individuals who had the financial well-being to do so. So the things that we see that are in existence where it is that we have excelled are actually stolen, copyrighted skill sets and products and services that we ourselves actually did come up with, but we didn't have the financial wherewithal to actually capitalize on. So he or she who has the money can actually become the owner of said services and products. So I disagree with that because we show improve every single day.
Yeah, it's like I said, Dr. Ma, we've never had the freedom to showcase whether it's financial, whether it's societal, whether it's in business, whether it's in government. We've never had the total, the privilege to be completely free in our thoughts and in our actions. That's what I mean.
Right. We're just now coming into the opportunity to express that. So it's not that we've never had.
We never really had because there's always been obstacles and things that the other folks didn't have to go through. And I stand on that. So in any event, getting back to, the topic that you started today, Dr. Maya, those three questions, this is what I've been saying all along. Schools are unwelcoming, they're unfriendly, they're training grounds for businesses. So we're putting this information out because although we may understand that, there's a lot of people that are listening to this that have these issues have never been presented to them like this. Yeah. And so by putting this information out, more people are going to begin to question the so-called education system and they're going to want for change. So I love the fact that you started this conversation like that and the way that it's going. I love it, man.
I think that's wishful thinking.
Which
is nothing wrong with wishful. That's not wishful thinking. I think if people are finding this stuff out for the first time, they're I think part of the problem is folks are disengaged. They don't want to know. And so to point out a problem to me is great. But with every problem comes an opportunity for a solution. And I think that solutions trump identifying problem every time. If you can change the tire, that trumps me being able to see that it's flat if I can't get the tire off the car. So, we can see the problem. Most people can see the problem. What they lack is the capacity to fix it. How are we going to fix it? That's why I say the land of should. Things should be, but they're not going to be until someone actually does something to fix it. It's comfortable to be in the land of should because you don't have to do nothing except point out what's wrong. And that's one of my biggest problems with the candidates running for office. They can point out each other's errors, but I don't want to see you point out your opponent's error. What are you going to do?
That's the kind of people that I like to engage with, Stan. I definitely like people who can point out the problem, the issue, whatever it is, but also simultaneously offer you options or solutions.
That's where it is.
Yes.
And so here's the lending to where I find myself in the capacity as an instructor. Because I'm in higher ed, what I want to do in my classrooms is allow for my students to identify the fact that they are problem solvers. There's issues that abound with within a lot of spectrums within our society. But how are you going to problem solve for that, right? So if it is that they can't find themselves identifying a solution to the problem, then we stay stuck on the problem. The problem is not going to move itself. It's not going to correct itself. So at the point where we have been given minds to think about solutions, this is what becomes the opportunity for me to open up their perspective on seeing themselves as actual problem solvers in order to be leaders within whatever industry that they find themselves, as well as being leaders within their own families in terms of contributions, right? And so where we have individuals who may not be able to see themselves as problem solvers, but can always identify the problem, they're good at identifying the problem. Talk to them about solutions. That's where that gap lies. And so we got to bridge the gap between identifying the problem and identifying the solution and then implementing the solution. We got to roll up our sleeves and get busy, people.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get this done if it is that we're just going to be looking at it. It's like watching TV. Are we going to maintain the position of being a part of the audience? Or are we going to get it into the game and start scoring? That's where it is.
A chess match.
Spectator. You can't be a spectator.
Right.
I love it, Dr. Maya.
In a chess match, clearly, these two people can identify a myriad of possibilities and problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But if you just sit there and look at them and theorize and pontificate and write white papers and do studies, and nothing moving on the board. At some point, there has to be execution. Execution based on critical thinking.
Right.
Now, schools can teach critical thinking. Critical thinking is a skill set that every employer wants. So we can have, and not only can we have critical thinking skills, we can have whatever we want in schools. Now you got sections of the United States government right now, the Attorney General, putting pressure on parents who are demanding change in school. In some cases, many parents have been arrested because they're at schools making demands, and the school officials are saying that the demands create hostility. I was in the school that looks like MLK on the south side. What is that?
Oh, on Franklin Avenue?
No.
Maple Avenue?
Maple? Yeah.
The
old Buckley. The original
That's
Buckley.
what it is, the old Buckley.
What is that school?
Burnsburg, I don't know, man.
Noah Webster.
No, definitely not Noah Webster.
Okay.
It was in that school. That's where the school where the security came to get you.
They came to get Levy.
Oh, was that Levy Cardullis?
They tried to get Levy, and then I got up with Joe Secor, and I said, I got him, and then he sat down. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was making a point.
Right.
They didn't like it.
So it was Levy Cardullis was making a point. And the security, they had to have security come in and take him out. But I remember you were involved in that in some way. So when you start pushing and being passionate about what you're talking about, it's interpreted as a potential threat or violence. And now we have the power and the authority to arrest and detain you because of the potential threat that you pose. Well, parents should never be seen as a threat. And when you are processed as a threat, that's a problem. And people forget. That's why I always get passionate on that point. People forget that all of these folk work for you. We somehow seem to get this twisted, like they're doing us a favor. Like we have to acquiesce when we have a demand.
So, Dr. Maya.
Yes.
When you started on your 3 points, that was based on stuff for this year's the preschool training that Hartford educators went through?
Listen, Lou, it's a myriad of things.
I'm asking because I have a comment that I want to read from one of the principals.
Right. So there's a myriad of things. So first off, just before we even got on the air, I woke up to Barbara Sizemore, who was a great educator back in, I want to say about 30 years ago, 30 years ago, right? So she really laid out a lot of what it is that prompted me to start analyzing what it is that I perceive as being presented as excuses for why it is that we cannot maintain a system or create a system whereby our Black and brown students have sufficient and adequate math and reading skills. There is no freaking excuse out there that you can hand me, because I'm not taking no excuses. So you could come as you will with an excuse, but this is no excuse season for me. If you deem yourself as an educator and you're saying that our kids can't learn, that's a problem. You're in the wrong business.
That's what I'm talking about.
That can never come out your mouth, ever.
So here's a comment, Dr. Maya, because I've been saying this almost every show. Our children and our families in Hartford are under attack by the school district. And you illustrated that point quite well with your 3 comments that you made, right? But here's another one. So this is from an educator. It says, "Good morning, brother. Love the passion and the raw emotion that you brought to your last show. The big question is, how could the superintendent celebrate an increase in graduation rates when our students are having difficulty reading? What kind of students are we graduating? Are we preparing them for anything? 82% of students reading below grade level and graduation rates go up." And that right there, just that last comment, Dr. Maya, and to all our listeners and viewers, makes me very, very concerned. Let me read that comment one more time.
Go ahead, because I need to digest that.
82% of students reading below grade level and graduation rates go up. That don't seem right. I'm not a math expert. I'm just telling you. I'm not a math expert, people. Listeners and viewers. That don't sound right. So that's like adding. My mother always used to say to me, Dr. Maya, "Son, if you ever add 2 and 2 and you get 5 or any other number besides 4, you know there's a problem." And I'm adding 2 plus 2 with that comment there, and I keep getting anything before, Dr. Maya. Help me out.
I'm getting everything before as well. So if we say that there's 100 students graduating from Hartford Public Schools and 82%
are not reading on grade level.
Hold on for a second. 82% means that there's 82 students that are actually graduating below the reading proficiency necessary. Check this out, Luke. Check this out. Hold on for a second.
Yes.
Check this out. So what that means is that through their 12 to 13 years in the system, there was consistent inconsistency in the development of their reading as well as math skills. Yet they qualify to graduate based on reaching the credit related requirements, not the skills and proficiency that they need. Right. But the credits were met. Right. That's where that is.
And
so
then when they get to you, they need remedial training.
Well, here's the thing.
Because they can graduate, but they're not graduating prepared to be competitive against anyone going to a school anywhere else. And they're not ready for prime time or the world.
Well, they're not ready for school, right? For secondary education, but they're also not ready for the job market.
Well, that gets back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I said last week, and I'm going to say it again today. Parents in Hartford should be mad as hell about this.
But they're not.
They should not be sending their kids to school.
But they do.
They should not go to work, regardless of where they work, and go downtown, sit downtown, shut the city down until we get some change.
Well,
we have the power, people.
That's a big shoulda.
I'm giving you the answer. Don't ever say I didn't give you the key.
Right.
You wanted to get in the door, I gave you the key to that door.
Right. But they're not.
All of us should be.
There's a Board of Education meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. Let's see how many parents show up.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's see how many parents show up.
That's what I'm talking about.
Third Tuesday of the month at Wheeler.
Yep. That's where
And
y'all
we'll
show
see.
up.
Because all of this is doable. It's all doable. All folk gotta do is come out. But but people aren't concerned. And therein lies the problem.
Well,
it's not a negative or a positive. It's an assessment. And if you want a fix, you have to deal with the problem that is before you. And we have serious problems in Hartford. It's the fourth poorest city of its size in the country. That can't be ignored. The literacy rate in Hartford is skyrocketing. About 50% of the adults are supposedly functionally illiterate. So if these problems persist, then it's very little wonder why parents feel intimidated when they go to school. So what's being done to give them the resource and the strength that they need to be able to stand up for their kids, to understand that simply because they don't know doesn't mean that they don't have power and authority. Until some of those things are dealt with, what they should do is theoretical. And theory is good, but can it be executed? Can it be put into practice? To know something but not be able to execute it means you fail the exam, because the exam is more than what you know. Can you execute it? Can you explain it? Can you verbalize what it is you're talking about? Can you write what you're talking about?
Can you
you do it?
Can you teach
Right.
it back to somebody else?
And then you've got mastery of the subject. Right now you're a doctor, a master.
Check this out. Check
PhD.
this out. I got a GED. I got a GED, and I have 4 degrees from the University of Hartford. Now, in the Hartford public school system, there was an English teacher, and some people might get hold to this and might know who this person is. But I was told that I was not going to college by an educator. 4 degrees later, Dr. Bowen sits here saying that, if it is that students are met with individuals such as that person on a consistent basis over the course of 12 to 13 years, we find ourselves with the present status quo. Okay? And so, with all that being said, I just extended myself an additional 15 minutes, but I want to leave you all with the very first question that I asked. How many colorful PowerPoint presentations does it take to improve the reading and math skills of Black and brown students?
In Hartford.
Right. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. This right here, listen,
To be here is our mission, full of purpose. We are driven, we are special, we have pride in who we are, and you can't break our stride. And if you see, like I see, you will realize it's not a dream. This school you make it, lessons you take it, we work as a team. This school is better with you in it. Yeah, for every hour, day, and minute. Yeah, we are here, we are winning. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. In it. We are loving when you're here. Yeah, and the future's when you're here. Hope you realize we do, can you believe it? Yeah, this school is better with you in it. This school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it.
In our school, such a given for you to learn is our mission. When we ver is what we are as a unit, and you can't bring us down. And if you see like I see, you'll realize it's not a dream. This school you make it, chances you take it, and we work as a team.
This school is better with you in it. Yeah, yeah, for every hour, day, and minute. Yeah, yeah, when you're here, everyone is winning. Yeah, yeah, this school is better with you in it. In it, in it. We all love it when you're here. Yeah, yeah. Better futures when you're here. Hope you realize we do care. Can you believe it? Yeah, yeah, this school is better with you in it. In it, in it.
And just to let you know, before you go, we know your skills won't fail to show. Yeah, we will call you our greatest prize. We know that you'll reach for the skies. Like a star, you'll come right through. I'ma rock with you. Nothing can break us apart because
This school is better with you in it. Yeah, yeah, for every hour, day, and minute. Yeah, yeah, when you're here, everyone is winning. Yeah, yeah, this school is better with you in it. In it, in it, in it. We all love it when you're here. Yeah, yeah, better futures once you're here. Hope you realize we do care. Can you believe it? Yeah, yeah, this school is better with you in it. In it, this school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. Yeah, this school is better with you in it. Mhm.
Hi, my name is Marisha Garcia. I am from Brazil. I help HPU. I help families de Universidade de Harvard Community. Estou muito feliz em participar. É muito importante engajamento deles padres e madres nas escolas de Hartford com seus ninhos, my children. I love helping family e HPU. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado. Hi, my name is Marisha Garcia. I am from Brazil. I help HPU. I help families de Universidade de Harvard Community. Estou muito feliz em participar. É muito importante engajamento deles padres e madres nas escolas de Hartford com seus ninhos, my children. I love helping family e HPU. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.
Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office.
So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their charity. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now, more than ever, you need to make your vote count. Declare your independence from the plantation of party politics and free your political mind.
All right, we're back. Okay, we're back. Welcome back, folks. Do some housekeeping here. Figure that out. All right, Lou.
So, Stan, first of all, I just want to say I was so happy to have Dr. Maya back. She's just she's a wonderful co-host. She has a wealth of information, and I'm happy that she joins us every Wednesday. So with that being said, I just want to mention Brother Chris Duke's case, the stuff with Colangelo and the state's attorney and all these people. I got an update for you. Okay? I can't reveal too much, but I understand that a lot of these people that have been getting away with a lot of stuff are going to be unpleasantly surprised in the very near future. So for all the folks that are following the Colangelo case, keep your eye out. Something's about to come down soon. So let's go back a little bit to this education thing, because it's been incredible today. It's been incredible today. You heard what Dr. Maya said, how our educators in Hartford are kind of making it almost impossible for our students to succeed. Our schools are unfriendly. This is something that we've talked about. Every show that I've been on, Stan, we've talked about education and some of the things that need to happen. But she conducted like a little private thing. And everything that she said is right on the money. Our kids are not going to school to be educated. They're going to school to be trained, to work for the companies, whatever.
They're going to school to be educated, but what's happening is they're being trained.
Right. So here's the thing. I will submit to the audience once again. Many people from my generation always heard the same thing. Go to school and get a job. What does that mean? What's the message in that? Go to work for somebody else. What I'm saying to you today, go out there, build something for yourself, create something for yourself, for your family, for your community, and make it happen. The same thing with education. We need people coming in with ideas and options on what our children should learn, how it should be done. We want to hear all of that. We have a caller, so I'm going to let Stan take that call.
All right, you got to give me time to get things set up, Lou.
Okay. All right. So well, listen, I'll just keep going.
No. Keep. Hold on, caller. My co-host is excited about being back.
Yeah, man, and we,
All right, you're live. You're live.
Stan the man.
Hey, it's Alfonso McGriff III.
How y'all doing this morning?
Good morning, Brother Fonz.
We're doing good.
You know, I was listening in, and we throwing the word education around, and I think it's real important to have some kind of understanding of what education is. But I will say that any so-called education in a capitalistic society like America, where people are slaves to student loans and bad money management, any education that doesn't include an understanding how to manage money is bogus.
That's a great point.
I would agree
That's
with
a great
that.
point, Fonz.
So when there is a discussion about education, whatever that means, if money management is not included in understanding how money works, if that's not included, it's all bogus.
Particularly in a capitalistic society.
Absolutely.
Because everything in this country is based on capitalism. And how can somebody capitalize off of something? So there's an incentive to steal whatever idea or invention you have so that they can capitalize on it.
Monetize everything.
Everything is monetized. Everything.
To some degree, it's almost like the system intentionally takes advantage of the financial ignorance of people to just benefit itself. And so hopefully one day education will start to be real to the extent of having some money management classes involved. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for that contribution, Fonz. Because it's right on the money.
Absolutely.
No pun intended.
If you want to call, by all means, feel free to do so. This is how it happens. You send us your phone number to morningtalk@accesstv.org. We'll get your name, number, and I'll call you back. You got call. You can send me your phone number. Say I want to be on Morning Talk. Call in list, whatever. I want to call in, whatever. And I'll call you back. This is how we pre-screen you. I once upon a time I didn't need to screen calls. I could take you cold over the air, but because people can hide the calls. You can call from anywhere with a fake number.
They block the call. Block the number or whatever.
Well, they have a fake number. It's a real number to look like it's from here, but it can be from anywhere. And so then I can't take calls cold over the air because people watch us literally all over the world. So I can't screen it out, and people will get on and say certain things and undermine. And so the only way I could do that is to do this. Now, back in the old days when it was television and it wasn't the internet,
yes,
it was no problem taking calls cold because you could jack them up, get them.
So let's go, family. Let's make some phone calls. Call in, call Stan, so we know that it's a safe number, like they say, for you to call. Yep. And we love to hear
from you.
Any insight, any comments, any feedback. You don't have to agree. We just want to hear your feedback.
Right. And then, of course, there's always, the chat section. Children under attack by school system. Dr. Maya Bowen. That's not her. Someone is asking that question. Yeah, it's okay. Well,
Well, as far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned, not just the children, our families and our communities are under attack by the education system. It's unwelcoming. It's kind of set up to make sure that our children fail. Okay, and we have to get rid of that. We have to get rid of people that are being like that. I think we should start with Julie Goldstein. I want to share this information that I shared last week again.
Mm-hmm. Who's Julie Goldstein?
She's the principal over at Hartford Trinity Magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she has shown herself to be quite racist and just not a competent person in terms of engaging. A lot of white people don't know how to engage with people of color. And sometimes their presence alone can be very offensive because the energy that you give off lets us know that you don't welcome us, that you don't have our best interests in mind. You know, we're all built of energy, and when you learn to read it, I can read people's energy before I walk in the building. You know, I may not want to walk in a building if the energy is not right. But I think that we should do that. We should start getting rid of people. But here's the piece of information, Stan, that bothered me last week when I heard it, and it's still bothering me. All 5 major Connecticut cities have a white mayor.
Well, that should start. That should have bothered people back in the election.
And in Hartford, all of our magnet schools have a white principal. You know what I'm saying? Well, are black and brown people not qualified to run these schools?
See,
I don't know.
Avon High School has a black principal.
Avon,
female,
which is one of the most well documented racist cities in Connecticut.
She just became principal,
and they got a black principal. We can't get black principals, brown principals in Hartford.
Well,
we send them to Avon.
Weaver has black principal.
Well, I hope she's a good one because I worked at Weaver. And Weaver was supposed to be the flagship of black education. And the last year that they closed, they were throwing all the black history books, all the black authors, they were throwing them out by the bins.
Well, that's
So hopefully and I don't know why that is not, instead of Weaver, Thomas Snell, this is all documented. Thomas Snell Weaver was a white man that didn't want black kids going to Weaver. Now we keep celebrating him. We have educators. We have black leaders. You know, there's no other name that should be at Weaver except Doc Hurley. That's the only name that should be there. Why aren't we taking these steps?
Well, I think,
what's going on?
When you have societies change and cultures change and people change, there's opportunity for them to come into power and do things. So, if folk want to change the name of Weaver to Doc Hurley High, then that's something that people can do. We have streets that have overlays on them. We have some streets that are changed the whole name. It's when you live in a community, you can make those changes. And then in the future, people can change the name of the building to something else. And so these are things that communities can do. That would be great. But the things that they need to do that really, 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 really matter is to be actually engaged and involved in their kids' education and to make sure that their kids are getting educated. When it comes to education, and you mentioned something about kids, parents not feeling comfortable. One thing that was done, this is a tactic used by organizers sometimes, particularly when they want to bring change in like retail. You got an uppity retail place, don't want certain people in there, You just start just going in the store and shopping. Just show up and go in the store and start shopping en masse. And buying things, pair of socks for $25 or something like that, and then that's it. You look around and stay in there for a while and then just buy one pair of socks and leave. Upper end type stores, where socks are $25 a piece. And so you go in there, or, you say, I changed my mind. I don't really want to take these socks. And they do it over a sustained period of time. 10 days.
Yeah.
Now,
or more.
Now, the customers that normally come in there are forced to interface with these people. And now you can see where the issue. Now the store is supposed to be exclusive, but you have all the lessers are in here shopping, and they speak to the management. They can't keep you out the store, and you force change this way. Well, if parents start showing up at school, just show up. Show up. Just show up. Don't create no issues or no problems, but you'd like to come and sit in with your kids' class. I'd like to just sit in with my. I'd just like to sit in with my kids' teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. McCauley, that would be highly disruptive. All right, that's cool. Who's your boss? I don't need to talk to you because clearly you don't have the authority to green like this.
What are we talking about?
Who's your boss?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing with you. Okay, right? No. You made yourself clear. I don't want to put you under any stress. I'm not here to be contentious. But you don't have the authority to. You don't have the authority. Otherwise, you just said that's not a problem, Mr. McCauley. Here are the rules for sitting in the class.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I need to talk to your boss. Now you go and you talk to their, and maybe it's the principal now. Oh, Mr. McCauley, that's going to be a problem. Well, do you have like an executive director, regional director, whatever the case is? Who's your immediate supervisor? You go right up the food chain. Now, you may have to go all the way up to the superintendent and maybe even to the board. See, the higher up the food chain it goes, the more devastating the end result. Because if it gets to the board, well, my goodness, the board is elected to office. These people are people you go to church with, that you shop at Walmart with, that you see on the street. These are the folk who actually set the rules. So you don't just want any old body sitting up in the classroom. Maybe you got to have a little background check. That's reasonable. Mm-hmm. So where do I go to get the background check? You see, take away every excuse they have until finally, there you are. Now you're in the classroom. See, where there's a will, there's a way. And now you make the environment more friendly. Now, anything can be done when it's something that somebody wants to do. If they wanted you in the classroom, then there wouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. They'll walk you into the classroom and everything else. Here's so-and-so. He's here for the class. So when they want you there, that's never a problem. When they don't want you there, that's when all of the obstacles come. But you have to walk in there like you're the boss, because in essence, you are. You are the boss. When I went to school, this is back in the ancient times, 1977. I was 17. I graduated high school at 17. I sure did. Yeah. Then I went to school for aviation maintenance technology. I graduated there at 19 and moved to Harvard. So 16, I think it was 16, because it was Votech. And the lunch at school was horrendous. Horrendous. And in Pennsylvania, they had to provide lunch. The cafeteria had to make so many lunches for And so we went on strike. No one bought lunch for 2 weeks. They fired the entire lunchroom crew. Wow. Got rid of them all. And they had the lunches were made by the culinary students. And it was like eating at a restaurant. Because the students determined we are not going to eat this food. And we simply didn't buy lunch.
And this is a wonderful, wonderful story, which was going to allow me to segue into what I've been saying all along. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Maya, I hope you're listening, sister. We don't need politics. We don't need to vote to bring change about. Them students in your school didn't take a vote. They didn't have an election. They had a consciousness. And that's what brought that change about, right? And so I'm just offering this as an option.
That is an option.
For us.
It's a viable option.
To think about. And I'm going to put this out there this week again. I want Jason Thody and Luke Bronin to resign, to quit, to leave, and to be brought up under any criminal charges that they may have committed by the end of this month. I'm putting that out there, family. I'm putting it out there. It's happening right now. Please help me. Let's create this consciousness. Let's bring change about. We don't need to go to the polls. If we make this happen, we can bring change about to this country like you never believe. So help me. Let's bring some change about.
Well, change does have to start first in the consciousness. It has to start here, because this is what everyone is ultimately their mind.
That brother from the 60s, the magnificent Gil Scott Heron, said the revolution will not be televised. But he also said the revolution starts in your mind.
The revolution starts in your mind.
Yes.
You got to free your mind.
Yes.
Free your mind.
So it's been great. I want to give a shout out to a couple young lions out there that's been doing great. Kevin Zimmerman, thank you for putting together that incredible chess tournament over at the Y. And to all the listeners and viewers, we're looking forward to doing that once a month. And if I can get, before you leave by the end of the month, Luke, if I can get you to let the people at the Free Center know that that's a community center and we should be able to have access to that. Because the way it's done right now, we have white people running it that never lived in Hartford.
Yeah, but they own it.
Telling
they
people
sold it.
They own it now.
Yeah, that's
so
theirs.
it's not. I thought it's city property. The Free Center.
They bought it. They sold it. Remember, they sold the library.
So now, it's the same thing.
Right,
we have white people owning it.
Right. It's called
denying
the Free
access to the community. We want to have a chess club once a week there.
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all get that through your head? Molly, Jimmy, whoever. Let them white folk know that the community wants to have a chess club there once a week.
And you've talked to them.
And they said, no, we can't have an ongoing event like that. I have talked to them.
Right.
We need access to that. I don't care who owns it.
Well, could it be somewhere else? I mean, it's like me coming by your house and telling you I want to do something here every week.
Stan, that's a community center,
It's
man.
not, though.
What is it?
To be.
What is it?
They just call it the Free Center. That's the name that they've given to it. But
what is it? Is it like a meeting
It's a
place?
business. It's a business. They do graphics and computer design, websites, and all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh, I thought it was still a free center.
And they let the community come. They do lots of stuff in the community. A lot of community groups have benefited from them opening their doors. And so they just don't give anyone access to come every week because it would be unfair.
How did they buy that? That used to be a public library.
They sold the libraries.
Anna Alfaro and Greg Davis, right? They're on the board of the library, and I'm calling them out because I know both of you. You conspired with some white folks to close a couple community libraries down. And now these people own it and we don't have access. So in Puerto Rico, what we say about that is, te quedaste sin la soga y sin la cabra. You lost the rope and the goat. You lost them both.
And the rope and the goat.
That's right, man. And this is the kind of stuff that's going on in Hartford. And I don't care who owns it. You're in the middle of our community. Give us access. Stop the dumb stuff. I'm gonna talk about it every week until we have access, or maybe we'll buy it.
You can't. I can't. You can't. I can't make you give me access to your house, to your property,
That's
to
not
your
a house.
business. It's
That's
their
not a house.
business, Lou.
They have to.
Okay,
they're
so
in the community. They're in the community state.
Bros Pizza's in the community. I can't go to Bros Pizza and tell them I want to do something in here once a week. And I want to do it for free.
I'm just upset about the fact that these people conspired to close community libraries down, and then they sell it to other people that don't allow the community in. That's crazy, Stan.
That is, but this is where, while we might put things into the atmosphere and all that, and while we can get together and do certain things, elections have consequences. The library is a quasi-public entity. The decisions they made are made by people appointed to office by elected officials. This is where elections matter. They don't determine every outcome, but they determine enough of an outcome that they shouldn't be dismissed. They shouldn't be dismissed. It's part of, not the only thing. It's part of. So it's like elections are like a supermarket. You go to the supermarket and you buy food, you come home and don't cook, the food spoils, you starve to death. Just because you vote doesn't mean things change. That's the beginning. The citizens still got to be involved with that. So that's one part of what you got to be involved with. Then you also got to be involved in your community. So when they start closing schools and libraries and other city assets and giving them away and selling them off and sell off your water department and your trash department and all that stuff, These things matter, but they're all done by people elected to office. That's what they're elected to do. Then they get in there and the community has a hands-off approach. They do whatever they want. And that's why you can't have these people just do whatever they want. They work for you. They're not sovereigns sitting up there making decisions for us. They're people we put there, and then we let them do whatever they want. And they will go up there and act a monkey, and we just ignore them. No. So
anyway, Stan, the other shout out that I will give out is to Glenn Malden. He's the director of athletics over at the Y on Albany Avenue. And this brother has done a magnificent job creating a safe space for our children and families to come in and exercise and work out. He's been very supportive. We have a chess club down there. He's been very supportive of that. Another young brother who I think is magnificent is Mario Davis, doing basketball leagues for adults, for men. Keeping it going, doing basketball leagues year-round, keeping our young men occupied, giving them something to do. Mario, big shout out to you. Thank you, brother. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Keep building, keep creating, and keep growing. The other person that we have to mention, and, she shouldn't be asking nobody for nothing because people know she out there, and whatever she needs, people need to be providing that for her, right? Is Miss Kim. Okay, she does the dancing, the gifted ones. And, I just want to give a shout out to Kim. She's been doing it for a long time. And for many years, she did it out of her pocket until she started getting a little help here and there. But she needs a lot more help. And anybody who's listening today, please reach out to Kim and let her know that, they're available to assist her with whatever resources you may offer. And so those 4 young people are creating safe spaces for our children and our families to participate in a safe manner, and where they're able to exhibit all their creativity and all their talents. And I'm grateful to have these young leaders. And I keep saying every week, we have magnificent people in Hartford that are doing great things. Let's support them. And let's keep building on that. And the last thing I would say, Stan, is Cacique Yelvero. That's me. I'm available for the safe use of cannabis consultations. So if anybody is thinking about, beginning to use cannabis and you're looking for some advice and stuff, please reach out to me. You can get a hold of me through Facebook or Instagram. And thank you everybody, to all of our elders that are here. Shout out to Wilbur Smith. He's an elder. He was a magnificent leader who did a lot of great things in the legislature and opened doors for all these soft ones that are in there now, because they soft. We have some soft ones in there now, right? But Wilbur Smith opened a lot of doors, and I just want to shout that brother out because we forget a lot of these great people that we had before us that opened the doors so Stan McCauley can have this show and Luis Delgado can be here. These people were magnificent. Trudy Merrow, Ella Cromwell. These people opened doors. Abe Giles, you know what I'm saying? For all the stuff that was said about him, he was a pioneer in Hartford politics for black and brown folk because he did it his way. So I'm just going to keep shouting all these people out every week, because they need to be, it's part of our history. Our audience, our listeners and viewers, our children, our families need to be very familiar with these names because they're part of us. And they did it here in our community. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to say all these wonderful names. Thank you, family. Y'all have a great rest of the week. And let's keep building and let's keep creating. And remember what Dr. Maya said. And Stan. Being happy is a choice. So make a choice to be happy and be successful. Peace, family.
Yeah, be happy. Peace. Yeah. All right. Well, we're all set. You good?
I'm good, man. Thank you, Stan. It was great, man. Great. Thank you, man. We just want to keep putting out all these positive. And, our people need to be recognized. And I'm going to be very adamant about that because they haven't gotten the recognition.
Well,
and when people don't
recognize them, that's all. They don't need a backstory. Just recognize them.
That's what's up, Stan.
Right. Beyond that, it sounds like an apologetic. Just point them out, period.
Yeah, it's
right.
And
you're
it's
recognizing
not just
them.
that, but I just want to make the point that when our people are not recognized, it's just like when people don't use your name when they address you when they know it. They're denying you your humanity. And I'm not with any of that nonsense.
Well, you recognize them. We can't make other people do stuff, but we can, and we can demonstrate that. So when you recognize them and big them up, others can see and learn about them.
That's what's up, man.
Right? That's what it takes. It takes you. That's what your charge is. That's what you do. That's why you're here, so that can happen.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah. All right, my friends. We will see you next time. Stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. Great programming coming up. If you got nothing to do this afternoon at 5:30, you can go over to the Artist Collective. It's free. There is a talent show. Hartford's Got Talent, Joe Young. And so going over there, and we're going to do some coverage of that event a little later on today. So you'll be able to see that tomorrow. We will see you all next time. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.